Hey everyone, so my name is Jennifer Collington and I work with Shine from the Insides Life Coaching, which is my own company. This community is pretty much about my way to move forward as a society and how we can actually build something that's real and tangible because right now our world is coming apart. And so for a long time I've been wanting to do these and it just never felt like the right time and I didn't know why I felt like I needed to do this. And now I think part of it has always been because I was always meant to be ready for when it's the what now? What's next? And so right now we have to quickly retrain all of you. And so we've been taught to not have inner power. We've been taught to be disempowered. And I've talked about it in my first video slightly, and it will be something else I touch on in the future. But right now, the most important part for us to remember is that they control us using our emotions. They harvest the most from us using our emotions. So one of the ways that they do that is by us being in these lower stated frequencies. So when we act like with shame, which is what most of our society has placed on us to keep us in 20 hertz, which is the lowest and most makes us the most susceptible, that's when we get this amazing, well, not amazing, but this like vortex of negativity being like placed on us and sucked out of us is all of our good stuff. Because technically what's happening when you're giving your inner power away, whether you know it or not, is you are putting yourself at a lower vitality so that you are weaker, so you are more compliant, you are somebody that they can tell you what to do, and it's so easy for them to control you because you are not at your most strongest to defend yourself. And they've done this on purpose. So when I started into this field, one of the things I was looking into is like what am I supposed to be a part of? And inner power has been something that has followed me my whole life because it was doubted my whole life and I was told I was wrong my whole life. And as somebody who's stubborn, who has ADHD and I'm sure has, autism, I'm sure that I would, if I went to the doctors, they would also call me schizophrenic. And I also did psychology training. I am aware of all of these things. So it's not like I think I'm unhealthy or anything like that. I think that in a society that wants to pathologize a problem with you, anything that doesn't look like the way that they want it to is a problem. And so instead of us being taught how to manage these gifts, how to understand them, how to be self-sufficient and smart, they have made us dumb. And they've done that on purpose. And they've wanted to make people like myself and people like you all feel like if you don't understand or fit into their mold, you're wrong and you'll be left alone. And one of the reasons they did that is, again, to disempower you from making any kind of shift from the one to that direction. Because once we have that clear direction, there is not much stopping us. Because I have been unstoppable since I've recognized it. The only ways that I've become stopped is when I shamed myself or allowed situations around me to bring me down to a place where I doubted again what I thought. And for a while, it's really easy to doubt because we live in a society that was plagued to make it look like this one image. And when you're seeing a different image over here your whole life, you start to wonder. So I'm grateful at some point that so many people who've known the truth are getting, the justification that they've always needed, that you did know. You did know. Since I was a child, I knew there was something wrong with this world and it didn't make sense. And then I lost my power by choosing to try to operate within a system using its metrics of tools. So a lot of those, sex, drugs, it was not talking about emotions, right? It was not using your body in a way that is healthy or healing for you. It was also not about getting out into nature. It was about being more sedentary or only in more like superficial places, consumed with materialism, your image, consumed with these markers of success that if we're not achieving, we're obviously failures. It was all a lie. It's all always been a lie. And for me, one of the biggest tools that came to me when I was starting in this, which was over probably 10 years ago now, when I started my healing journey truly and elevated and became aware of a lot of these tools. And as I've gone through school, I learned more of them. School was something that I benefited from because For one thing, I learned that everything was BS in that timing because I studied it and realized, wow, these patterns of manipulation are everywhere. And then I started looking into, I've been more in the conspiracy realm for my whole life. So have I believed in aliens? Yes. Have I believed they were poisonous? Yes. Have I believed that little itty bitty bugs might be fucking little cameras? And guess what? They are. And so was I ever wrong? No, it wasn't. And so anyways, I digress. The point is, I was doubted my whole life. I was minimalized and taught that if you're not like this, then you are gross. And even as somebody who's white, who has privilege, I still was treated that way my whole life. And that's why I think there's so much discrepancy out there, is because people are like, some people have it worse, and I get that. I'm not saying that they do not, because they do. And there is a very different thing from being somebody. We've all technically been taught that we're damaged and wrong, okay? Except for the people who have been born to tell us that. They're the ones that have been taught. They're the ones that have been told that they are not like that and that they don't have to worry because they're so perfect, right? Anyway, so for me, when I started getting into my healing, the most important part was the rescripting of what was happening. For a long time, when I told my story and when I thought about it, I talked about it in the way of my oppressing. And so I was the victim. I was helpless. I was somebody that she really couldn't do all these things because she was so bogged down by the story, right? If I'm too busy being a victim, then I'm never talking about how I'm my own savior. If I'm too busy saying that I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm crazy, then I'm not seeing that I always knew, and I'm not giving myself that credit to know. And so I'm discouraging that confidence. I'm discouraging my own self-awareness and my own self-acceptance, because in those things, I'm not actually speaking my truth. I'm speaking what I've been taught to view as my truth and put me in a disempowering state so that I don't rise up and actually believe in these skills and abilities I have, and at that point you're disempowered, you have no inner power, and constantly we're at a choice to give our inner power away or to build it up, okay? And some things are worth it to give it away for. When we have friends or family in need, bad things happening, giving your power in a way that is inauthentic and harmful for you, even though you think you're helping, you're not actually helping. But to give your energy and your love to something as a way to pour into it, but not to drain you, is something that it takes a long time to learn how to do. Not a long time, but it does take time to understand that a lot of the time, the way that we're giving into people is in a negative way, that we've been taught how to pour into others. And so that also disempowers us. And one of the reasons that happens is because they've been taught to tell us that unless you bleed yourself dry, give everything you can, you're probably not that great of a partner or friend, and that again is shame, right? So one of the biggest tools for me was called rescripting, all right? I rescripted because I took a honest step back, and this is a brutal stage, because the honest step back is a brutal stage. To accept yourself, you have to know where you were in the right and where you maybe did not take your highest timeline and could have done better. And by highest timeline, I never like to say you were right or wrong. We make decisions based off of the information at the time that felt best for us. Okay? Them to decide if you were right or wrong is shame. But there is a part inside of us, in our core, our higher being self, where you are not acting in high alignment with your true path, and that is your true heart and soul essence, okay? And when you got misguided from that, which they always have wanted to misguide us from that, you are not empowered, because that is technically your home. That is where you belong, is in that space, in your heart. And when they take you out of that to live in their mechanical world, okay, you are not powerful already, because you are already displaced from where you belong. All right. So what is inner power? Okay. So inner power is inside of us, and it tells us when to act, when to move, and it gives us the strength to do so. We all have it, and we all have to learn how to tap into it in a creative and effective way for daily life. All right? I classify you being aware of this as your God gene. All right? I believe that we are from a greater creator. I don't believe in religion. I believe in the fact that I know that there is something grander than us, and I know that there is something grander on one side, and there is something lower on another. And the lower thing is what we all should be worried about. That is what is actually controlling the bird of the left and the right. You know, that's the one causing all these divisionary lines between us, okay? So our God gene technically is what empowers us, because we are the creator of this life. When you tell a story that is not empowering to you, it immediately lowers your body's frequency and makes you weaker. When you tell an empowering story about yourself, when you speak from authentic truth and love, those are the highest frequencies we can be in. And so those kind of help you elevate your energy so that you can do amazing things. Because most of what we are, why we are sick, why we are dumber, why we are less capable, why we feel weaker in a sense, even though we are stronger than ever, you know, because think of all the things that they've been doing, and look at you, still making it through, you know, still educating yourself, still trying, right? They actively have tried to put things in front of you to block you from understanding this, and look at you go, understanding it. And so the thing is that I have a note here that's like, they are not my God. I know who I am and what I am. I know the direction I am heading. I see my true north. I feel my heart's desires. I am my soul's passions. Only I can be these for me and no one else. That makes you your God. The God gene is knowing that you have it inside of you. You do not need it anywhere else. And this is not for people who are like terrible to use as like, okay? This is for people who genuinely, you don't think that you can do a lot of stuff because of the fact that you feel so low about yourself, and you look to everybody else to tell you what direction to go. You don't know who you are. You haven't taken the time to figure out, and guess what? They don't want you to take the time to figure out. They want you not to know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you need to fight for or stand for or worry about. The moment I did my work into finding out what my values and needs are to make me feel good, to make me feel like I'm fulfilled, in a honest, heart-centered, aligned way, when you put up those needs and wants, well, not needs and wants, needs and values, you begin to realize most of what they peddle to you in society as important is actually irrelevant to your heart and to your future, which therefore removes you having to worry about those things as much, because you don't need to. You know that inside of you, empowering yourself means focusing on these things. And this stuff, that's somebody else's noise. And guess what? A lot of that noise that they've created, it is collectively something that they've wanted us to worry about that is not important for us to worry about. And they've continuously continued distracting us, which is exactly what they're doing now. Whatever happens, anytime there's something big like this, there's something bigger happening. And the bigger thing that I believe that's happening is the movement of the humanity forward. Us becoming online to truth, us having the grand choice now to, I said it in my last video, we are purposely giving choices that are terrible to see if we will say no. We are at a time now to say no. There is a better way, and as uncomfortable as that's going to look for a bit, it is better than whatever this is. I now know what your guys' game is. I don't want to be in your game. I'm going to choose, because I'm a God in my game, right? I'm not the God. I'm part of God. We are a cell. Like, think about it. He's created every living organism here, right? Well, not he, they, whatever you want to say. God, source, universe has created every little molecule, atom here. And we are all stemming from whatever source created that. That means whatever source that created us is in us. We are part of it. This body, even though it's an avatar body to me, technically, is what I would say it as. Even though I'm human. Okay, people. Trust on that. I don't know. It seems suspicious now, Jennifer. Just saying. But the point is that this body is from God. this body, it is directly, like, as much as we were birthed from them, right? Therefore, we are made of that DNA. Therefore, that DNA is in our structures. Therefore, we are made of that same power. And that is why they don't want you to know about it, because what can that happen for you if you realize that? Well, maybe you're never going to get sick like you could before, because sickness is something that we put on our humanity, right? To lower us, to control us. We actually don't have to get sick. That's exactly a God gene thing. When you believe that you are healthy, when you believe that you are resilient, your body is able to rise to that level of that belief. When you don't have a higher belief, your body can't rise to it. Hence why half of the time they do not want you to have this understanding of how to get to a higher belief, which is why we're here today. I want to help people to understand this, because in a quick amount of time, we need to now create a plan forward. And if you don't understand yourself and what's important at the true core of yourself, you're not going to understand these bigger themes that we're all going to have to agree on. Because we are, as a collective society, going to have to agree on this stuff in our own way. We now see everybody out there that was trying to help us was actually poisoning us and killing us and raping us and hurting us and doing this all for their own game for eons and eons. We have been a tool of enslavement, all of us, even if it has been on different levels of spectrums, because you better believe it's still happening on a very vast, horrendous scale across the world still. So it's not like it's something that only people of color experienced a long time ago, right? It is still happening to people, especially of color. And racism is still happening to people of color because it's been specifically orchestrated to have that in our systems, to have that built into our government, to have the world be set up to not be for people, especially some people, because there were people, think about it, they want to call us, they want to create the best species to them, and because they are so egotistical, they believe they know that it's this make and model, and if you don't fit in that, which I never have, so even though I am white and my family's white and my family immigrated to Canada, I still have been, and I'm fat, right? Well, not fat, but I am fat, and fat is one of the ways that we are still allowed to be publicly racial now, still be very biased, My point here is that everybody has faced atrocities, but some of us can't even imagine the atrocities that others have faced because of the privilege of a society that didn't put them at the very bottom from the beginning. And I was lucky enough not to be at the bottom of the very beginning. But you know what? You know what my mind did? And it was so lovely of it. It made me feel like I was there anyways. So even though maybe I didn't have it the worst of everybody, it felt like it to me. My journey was hard enough. And I put myself through some of my hardest learnings because I wanted to learn hard on my own like that. And I think I did it so that I could understand people of all different kinds of situations and to understand how truly horrendous to face even an ounce of those situations would be. I grew up very lucky, and to me, it offends my heart that the world didn't get to grow up even better than me, because I know that my home, even though it was better, was not perfect. And there's never going to be a perfect, but there's definitely a level of, we have had this going on for a very long time, and how people are raised affects the next generations. And so if you don't properly prepare a generation to raise the next one, they're going to take on some dramas, and they're going to be minimized and discredited because that's the system they grew up in. They don't know how to teach the other. And my whole life, people did not understand me because I was speaking ahead of my time, and that's okay. There was a reason of when this message was going to matter, when it was going to take importance. And for myself, it was about removing that doubt, thinking that I don't know and then that's never going to happen. I was like, it's going to happen eventually. You know in your heart, and you know that your voice matters, and you know all these teachings, these lessons, these skills, all of these things, your perspective, your powers, all are going to matter one day, and they matter now. Even if everybody else can't see it, even if everyone else doesn't know it, they matter now. And that helped me to know that everything I was doing had importance, had impact, right? Like, up until that point, you feel like there's no point to it then. But when you know that even if it doesn't ever really come to a time, you know that it still matters. So all this training, all this stuff, it has affected me and everyone around me because I have taken the time to learn about it. And I wanted it to be better for everybody. So I wanted to have a good grasp on it, that I could explain it to somebody even in the simplest form, right? Because I do believe another level that what they do is they speak in a way that is advanced so that majority of the populace does not understand. Because you don't really fully get the full level of it unless you fully actually understand yourself. And so if you're barely able to keep up with some of the terms or examples they're using, then it's going to be very difficult for you to fully grasp what's being said. And that's how they've been able to mislead us for a long time, is because we don't catch a lot of the nuances. And the people who are good at pattern recognition, like myself, you do catch, you do notice. It is suspicious. It's suspicious, and we do say something about it. So inner power for me, part of why it is hard is because you have to empower yourself even through your mistakes. You have to realize at some point we all created this, and we are continuing to create it with our thoughts. This is our world because we've all decided to keep following this narrative, right? And so you have to be authentic in, where have I kept this timeline going? How have I kept these ways of thinking? How have I harmed and oppressed myself? Where have I over-policed myself to the point where I've put myself in my own self-imposed jail, which is one of my favorite turns of phrases, because you have the key. You have the key at any time to take yourself out of there. But half of us will never find the key, because all you have to do is look inside of yourself to find out these answers, and then you can use them to open the door, right? So right now we need to open the door for people. Well, how do we do that? Well, we need to bolster all these things that bolster inner power. Because once you know that we can run this better and on our own, not really on our own, but together it'll help us to be even self-sufficient, but also the best team partners ever. Because currently right now, there's so much division on purpose. It doesn't want us to be a good team player. So how do we make it bigger? Okay, so first one is you need to know yourself. So that self-awareness, biggest thing that you can do for yourself. Why? Well, self-awareness teaches you who you are and who you aren't. Can you be manipulated if you know who you are and who you aren't? No. So people can say whatever they want to you, and you still know the truth of who you are, right? And that helps you. So even if things don't go specifically a certain way that you want, you still know maybe in the long run it might, because you held true to yourself. So it's okay that it didn't work out. How are you going to navigate in that? Because now that you know yourself, you know you can navigate that. Because you have, haven't you? How many things have you been through in the past that you've navigated? How many situations did you not know that you could get through, and emotions that you didn't know you could handle, and here you are? And guess what? You're going to be better than ever, because now is the time of an awakening. Now is the time of truly, how do we live in heaven mode? Because it's possible. If we're God, we can live in heaven. If we are confused about what we are, it's really easy for the demons to make us be in hell. Because if you don't know how to create heaven for yourself, you're going to constantly choose decisions that are going to place you like you're in hell. Okay, so one of the most important things is just taking time to reflect on your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. See what are your strengths, what makes you feel drained, where you feel the most authentic, and you can do this. The best ones that I would say is through journaling. Journaling is the most easy because it makes how you feel tangible. You see it on paper. It is very cathartic for you. It is very good for you to put things out. I am big on using the elements. Okay, so in shamanism, that was part of why I know a bunch of tools and techniques that are beyond just the typical ways of healing. And I think that when we look at shamanism or anything of the metaphysical kind of magical kind of stuff, it's missing the picture of us understanding that we all have these powers to tap into these elements and properties here if we so choose. So I'm not special because I can do these things. I'm just aware that we all can. One of the reasons that it's important to know what you can and can't do is so that you can help free yourself and not try to focus on all the stuff you can't do, because there's a reason why I'm good at some stuff and not good at others. There's somebody else out there that's good at others, will help me understand or be better at those things, or it's not mine to worry about. I've learned a great deal of information to help people in this way because people didn't have the time to figure it out, okay? And you are an expert in how you are because you had the time to, like, that was your mission to sort that nugget out, not mine. So we all have something to exchange here, right? But in journaling, I say I'm getting off track, but in journaling, one of the things that comes clear is you start to see who you are. You start to see these capabilities. You start to see what you want for yourself in the world, where your true emotions are versus how people have taught you how to be. And so meditation's a great one, but if you have a hard time sitting still and everything, it can be a lot. But one of the things is there are very much multiple different kinds of meditating. So I highly recommend trying a few out. Meditation helps because that's when you actually get to quiet your inner thoughts, but focus on your own voice at the same time. So for me, I do like an active meditation, which I usually am walking in nature. And although my mind is not quiet, a mindfulness meditation, you are very present in what's happening. It's not about all this outer stuff. It's about, wow, look how beautiful that leaf was. And I'm like, you know what? I love the way that leaf, those veins on that leaf pop out, you know? I love the way this tree grows nice and strong and tall, and it inspires me to feel like I need to grow strong and tall, you know? So like, meditating, we get this idea that it has to look like woo-woo in a certain sense. Meditating is anything. You can be sitting on a bus not speaking and just like be very present in what's going on. The point is to pull yourself from being so chaotically distracted, because that's what the media has done to us. That's why they put out so much stuff like that. To be so rampant is so that our brain is never really focused. It's never really quiet. It's never really, I have an inner monologue, so my brain's never quiet. So some people, you're never going to hit quiet peak in there, and you shouldn't. Some people are very strong. You're going to meet other people in there when you're meditating. Like me, I go to a different plane and I talk with different things, right? I don't want to just say specifics because there are different ones. But that's where I've met my higher self as well. And you'll know your higher self because, like it or not, you've probably been dreaming of them and visualizing them your whole life. Because they've been trying to help you. They've been trying to help us all to get to this point. They're here listening to me to help you to understand what I'm saying if you're still here, right? They are helping us every step of the way for a reason. So meditation is important because it does get you to that place where now I can speak to my higher self. Now I can truly listen to my higher self, or now I can truly focus on the present. And that quiets all that extra thinking down so that you can funnel all of that energy. Instead of being harvested for something negative out there, you can harvest it for yourself and putting energy into what actually matters for you now and going forward, even if that's just revitalizing and re-energizing yourself right now, because it's so scary out there, you know? And even those walks in nature, incredibly beneficial. I highly recommend doing any kind of grounding practices, especially with how crazy the world is. Barefoot walks, tree hugs, you know, just sitting quietly. You don't have to speak. Even if your brain is loud, but trying to focus, like I said, mindfully on what's happening. So good for yourself. But another thing that you can do is also check in with yourself throughout the day. So there is a number of different ways that you could do this. But some is just to periodically, you could set a timer on your phone and just ask yourself, so how am I doing right now? Because sometimes, like me, I'm ADHD, so I forget that I haven't drank. Oh, I forget that, or now I'm feeling a little like, I need to move, you know? So like when you check in with yourself, you give yourself that opportunity to tell you what you need. And then your inner power builds because you trust yourself to ask yourself what's happening here. You know, the same way as if you're journaling, you start to build your trust because you start to see your truth in these pages versus what you've been told. And journaling is probably one of my favorites because if you haven't noticed in these few videos that I have, or in this minute of this video so far, I like to talk. I like to use a lot of words. So journaling has always been my friend since I was a kid, but I stopped for a really long time when I was the most unhealthy, when I was drinking, when I was the most disempowered, before I started my healing, back when I was a young, I'd say like a teenager to young adult. So like maybe like 16 to 25-ish. That's when I did not utilize these things as much because I was more consumed in trying to get my external desires met in a way that was unhealthy for me, in a way that I was seeking what I wanted based off of thinking that I needed it to prove I was loved, to show that I was capable or important or worthy. And now it's like, I already know those things. So when stuff comes to me, it comes to me because I already know it's destined to come to me. But I just truly believe good things happen to me all the time. Even the fall of this society. I am sorry, people. It's terrible. This has been a manifestation for me for a very long time, though. I have been People are manifesting billions. You know what I'm manifesting? Utopia, world peace. I'm manifesting to ease divisionary lines. I'm manifesting for people to become aware, to be able to start speaking their truth, to understand, to hold their power. I'm manifesting a better world forward. So yeah, I'm sorry this is terrible, but if anybody has ever done any healing work, often looks worse before it gets better. So even though this looks so bad, it's so good. There's so much authenticity happening right now. And if you don't know what I mean by right now, today is February 5th, 2026. We have had those files. We've had these changes. We've had this and this and this in so many different areas of the world, not just in like certain closer ones to me because I live in Canada. So there's so much going on right now, which is why this is so important right now. These tools will never be as useful to you as this moment right now because this is the way we rebuild the world. Knowing this stuff, because once we all know this, we don't have to worry about these little itty bitty details that are irrelevant, that we've been taught to argue painstakingly because they don't want us moving forward. So if we keep talking and arguing about the same stuff, we're not going to move forward, are we? Because all we're going to keep doing is needing to continuously bring up this topic again and again and again and again and again. So here we are talking about something new. Here we are trying to create something new, and it's important, okay? So that's the self-awareness portion. The next one, self-acceptance. Embrace who you are. That's where the authenticity comes in place. I can be stubborn sometimes. Is there anything wrong with that? There could be. A stubborn, opinionated woman? Oh my God, there could be. If I let shame and everything get to me, oh my God, it could be terrible, couldn't it? But guess what? I'm aware that somebody who stands for what they believe in are not going to be easy to give in to something. Somebody who is critically thinking about something, also not going to be easy. I am not stubborn enough to the point where I hear new information, I look into it, or I think about it critically, and I'm not willing to change my stance. That's not me. Stubbornness for me is I know what matters and I don't let anything tell me otherwise. I know who I am and I don't let anybody tell me otherwise. And I know what's important for me to keep doing and I don't let anything take me off that path, no matter what. So yeah, I'm stubborn. What of it? What of it? It's actually a badge of honor for me. Thank you very much. Okay? And so yeah, we have imperfections and there's a reason for that, okay? Nobody is perfect, especially in a world where they bullshitted you to believe that there was some kind of ideal realm of perfection, okay? Absolutely not. It's time to accept yourself, to stop seeking validation from others and start living in alignment with your true self. Do you know how many people are following just what they believe their family thinks that we have to do? Meanwhile, their family was founded or done stuff that was terrible back in the past. So yeah, of course you're okay with that being how your family is ran. The kids are horrified because they are aware that this isn't how it should be done in the first place, but they go along scared, right? And that's also people in relationships, that's people in groups, You know, there are people that are part of certain groups, and at this point you should be questioning, you know, your group, if they're all doing that, right? In a certain way that is not aligned to you. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to believe, you know what, I think that these guys at one point, they did align with me, but now I kind of know who I am. And some of these narratives, they are very against me. They're very against my heart. This is not what I signed up for, you know? Anyway, so one of the biggest things you can do is to start living in alignment with your true self. This is where knowing your needs and values is important. This is how you start living for yourself, because then you can start acting in those ways that matter most for that. And one of the ways that you can also start helping yourself is self-acceptance. Sorry, I am spiritually aligned, so the more intense my message gets, sometimes the more my body will react to it. And that's something that we all also need to know. Your body does give you signs when you are speaking your truth the most powerfully, okay? Anyway, and you have to trust it. That's part of also self-acceptance and self-awareness, is you have feelings. Accept them. Men. I actually love a man that has emotions. Emotion regulation? Hello! You want to get on top of the dating realm right now? Work on those things, okay? I'm telling you. The women will immediately be like, wow, he's somebody I can do all this stuff. Anyway, that is not what we're talking about, Jennifer. But divine alignment right now is a big part of 2026. So a lot of divine partners are going to come into place, which these divine partners, they're power couples for a reason. We're here to lead it forward together, masculine and feminine. Some of them will be drastically different than each other. And it's about recognizing the middle ground, right? So we all might have a common place if we actually set aside divisionary lines, and that might open up who you think is available for you, right? It's right now we've closed off so many options for ourselves and limit ourselves that we're seeing there's a problem, because a lot of it is not authentically drawn to us for a reason. You know, we're trying to fit everything into these little boxes of what we thought we needed. Meanwhile, it's all been about division, hasn't it? Anyway. But one of the ways that I worked on some self-accepting myself was affirmations. So any kind of that, I like mirror work the best. So you stand in front of a mirror. It's good to touch yourself a little bit, like to hold yourself. This is part of like somatics. I think it's EFT. I always get the things wrong. Anyway, the point is, it helps you to know that you're here in this moment, and you're safe, okay? And so in the mirror, when you don't have to touch yourself when you're in the mirror, but you can do it before you go to the mirror, but it'll be weird at the beginning. I have a mirror right here, by the way. Yeah, that's why I keep looking that way. So the point is, you look at the mirror and you want to look at yourself, and it's good to stare in your eyes for like 5 minutes. It does something for you when you actually just have to look in your eyes. You get to see your own soul in your eyes. It's really hard for some people, especially if you have a lot of shame and guilt, you know, because you actually have to it's like atoning to yourself to be like, I see you. I know everything you've been through, but also I know everything you are, and it's amazing. You know, so it's intense because the person, your higher self, is in those eyes too, you know, and so is that really, really small baby version of you, right? And so is all of those horrendous maybe moments that you wish that you never had become like. And I have had many bad moments. One of the things that propelled me to change when I was actively using alcohol and was in a stage of my biggest disempowerment was because I would wake up and have to apologize to everybody I cared about how I treated them. And they'd tell me these stories about how I acted, and it would make me feel terrible. And although there are people that do way worse, you know, it was enough for me to know I was hurting the people I loved. It was enough for me to see, this clearly isn't me. If I was happy, I wouldn't have to do all of this. If this was working, this wouldn't be what the result is, you know? And so it made me change. I started going to school after that. I started eating clean. I got into the conspiracy theories because I became educated, right? And I've been kind of above feeling like a victimless, helpless person, victimless. Yeah, I haven't been victim. So, anyway, the point is that once you start to really become aware of all these manipulations and ways to raise above them, they can't really trap you anymore. And that's where I've gotten to. And there's been moments I've forgotten it, because that's the whole point of this place and where it's set up right now. It wants you to forget. It wants you to constantly be pulled back from your power. That's why we ascend so far, and then we feel like lots of stuff happens. Is half the time there are forces at work that don't want you to propel forward, but the other is a test. How are you going to act when things get tough? Are you still going to show up as this person that you want to be? You know, are you still going to move this way? Are you going to operate a different way? And that's a lot of the time we're being tested. And so right now, that's the test here, even in this time and place of where we are in humanity. Are you going to know who you are and make a decision that is actually in true alignment with your highest self? Or are you going to choose an easy route that probably is only there out of ease because it's not very good for you? It's not the highest decision. There's a reason they want you to take that one. You know? Anyway, so 3, setting boundaries. So this one is my favorite, because as a people pleaser back in the past, setting boundaries, very difficult for me in the past. Now, they're my best friend. I like to use the metaphor or just the symbolism of like thinking about, if you're going to get a tsunami, okay, coming in, what do you want to protect your city from falling? And a lot of the time we want to put up a barrier, something that breaks the water so that it can take most of the impact and prevent the damage from the rest of the impact, okay? So it stops something before it becomes a problem, or it tries to lessen it as much as it can. A boundary is your friend. A boundary is, I care about myself, this matters, so I'm going to only operate to this level, and then after that level, that is outside of my care of myself, and I don't actually need to put myself to that place to believe I'm either loved, holy, worshipped, or any of that. I don't have to prove myself, you know? And if you love me, if you appreciate me, if this is good and aligned, you will appreciate and accept that boundary. No issue, okay? Which is why in this dating realm, when women, by the way, say like, oh, I don't want to sleep with you, or these are the rules, and you immediately are like, no, you're a red flag, okay? Because you immediately, somebody's trying to give you a boundary, and I test guys. It's not even, sometimes I don't even mean it. I just am testing to see if you are good on consent or not. Are you good with boundaries? And guess what? A lot of you guys fail on that. And it's not even, you don't even know me, and you think that you can do that, you know? And we have people close to us that continuously push those boundaries on purpose. So the boundaries are to protect your energy. The boundaries are to protect that inner heart city, because once something gets through, that you have to do healing work usually, right? We don't want to have to get to that place, right? You shouldn't have to get to burnout. You shouldn't have to get to fatigue. You shouldn't have to get to like ruin to show something that matters, or to be there, or any of that, okay? So it is learning to set boundaries, because they aren't just about saying no to others. They're about saying yes to yourself. This is about where you say, this is what's important to me. This is how it matters. And anything beyond that, I'm really not interested in, okay? So whether it's limiting your time to negative people or saying no to overcommitting, boundaries help protect your energy and allow you to focus on what matters to you. It's incredibly important for us to be only really focusing on our inner calling of what we're designated to come here to do, our higher purpose, right? And some of you may not believe in that, but that's okay, because not all of us will at the start, right? But most of us, when we hear that, we know we do have one, you know, and some of it is just to be somebody that talks sometimes, right? Some of it is to be somebody that protects, right? And like, I like to think these words are helping to protect somebody. So even though I can't be there to fight the battle for you, I hope I can help you in your mind, okay? So, anyways, we're trying not to cry. In my first video, I was like, I probably will, because I do have a Cancer rising, and so I do cry a lot. It is definitely one of the things that I think is the most important for people to do, and your tears are very sacred, okay? They do make magic happen. So it's okay to cry. I'm just trying to not get caught up in my emotions to deliver this. Anyways, not that this isn't all emotional to me. So I just mean by caught up, not overwhelmed, not consumed. There's a difference between feeling your emotions and like getting ran by them. And my emotions don't need to run me. So that's why we don't, hurt people. Anyway, so resilience is the next one. So 4 is resilience, bounce back from your setback. So cultivating resilience is really important because we can always use any failure, anything that we've gone down a road or had an outcome that we don't like. We can use it as like confirmation bias. Oh, I am terrible, which you're not terrible, okay? When in reality, we should look at it as everything that we've been through has been building us up to be able to handle more and show us, like, despite these odds and these things happening to you, look at you, right? You're still here and you're still doing good and you're still trying, and that counts. I know that society doesn't want to make it counts because, you haven't had the successful markers, but that is the most important thing that you can build is that experience of life, and then understanding that how to handle things even when they come up, right? And so resilience isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about how you respond to them. When you face a setback, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? Seeing failures or challenges as challenges, seeing failures or challenges, this is why I don't like reading off of shit, as learning opportunities. Rather than roadblocks to keep your power intact. For me now, when I get tested, it is one of my favorites. That something big's happening when you get tested. So my resiliency is pretty high because I have been through a lot of situations, and some of them I haven't been in on my own accord, and some of them I was put in on my own accord, And by that I mean some of them we enter in knowing they're going to be a gong show, and some of them we have the best intentions and they become a gong show. But either way, I believe in me, and whatever powers that be that put this in my place, they do too. I would never be tested if they didn't think that I could overcome this. So anytime I'm like, So I used to get real mad about, this is a really simple example, but I used to get real mad about driving and being like late or stalls or cut back, like people cutting in and stuff, or like leaving my house and trying to be on a certain time and then not leaving on time. I used to get real upset about that, but then I was like, there's probably something amazing I need to see that I'm not going to see unless I'm there at this specific time, I probably just avoided an accident because I wasn't on the road at that time. So like I try to see there's something good in this. So, am I being challenged right now? Yeah, but maybe I'm working on a different level of emotional connection, or maybe I'm working on a different level of patience, or maybe I'm actually being ushered into a greater path to take than I would have if this hadn't come up. The blessing that I'm going to get from this road now is going to be tenfold because there is a challenge that I'm going to overcome versus to take a lower path, right? So there is, of course, it is not very fun to have setbacks, but they make us stronger and they're essential for life. I watched this video once about life's momentum, okay? And they put 2 balls on just a thing, and one had ups and downs and one's didn't. The ball that had the ups and downs, right, versus just a straight general decline, that ball went, I think it was like 4 times as fast as the other ball. And why? It's because our downwards actually propel us to shoot up and continue way faster than if we have none. Those arcs of like good things is great, but the down is where we gain the momentum. The down is what teaches us the most, and without it we don't learn. But the society we've built, the level of down that people are facing, not needed for us to learn, okay? However, for our generation to come online, for our world at this time to come online, they are necessary. These levels of downs we've been facing are for a reason. For one, they've been orchestrated, but for two, they're given to us, like orchestrated by them, right? the negative entities. But then there's people that good, like not the good entities, but the higher being side of it is challenging you on purpose to help you to grow, to help you to waken up, to jolt your system, okay? Without my near-death experiences, without all these travesties that happened in my life, I would never have awoken. I guarantee that it was through these terrible things that it helped me the most, because I was born and raised in a very closed-minded community, right? And that community is still largely where that tear is right now, is that belief that there are people less or better than us, or that if you don't fit the mold, you're terrible. And for a long time, I did not fit the mold. So most of my life, they wanted me to feel terrible, right? And so every setback was that much bigger because I already felt terrible. And I'm like, great, now here they are right about me. I'm right about life, and I shouldn't even be here, and it's so easy to snowball it. So for me, then I realized that that was all a lie. And part of just me having setbacks is honestly, like in a video game, it's for me to level up. It's for me to get skills points. It's for me to become something better than what I was before I entered that situation. So now when my car breaks down, yeah, it's stressful still, but I know I can handle it. I know all the steps to do something. And that's part of what builds our resiliency, is we're put in all these terrible or awkward or unknown situations for us so that we can become aware of how to handle them, and that in the future we don't even have to worry about it now because we have such a good background of all the skills that we've learned that we're good. Because most of those skills can be applied in very many different ways for whatever comes up next, right? So anyway, so 5, mindset shift. And so this is to adopt a mindset of the growth mindset. And so that's, it's funny because growth mindset means that no matter what happens, that you're still learning and growing. There are people that believe that who we are in life, that's just who we are. I took psychology, one of my favorite. So I took personality psychology, and I took cognitive behavioral psychology. I've taken a lot of different forms of it, and for psych anyways. The point is that what I've learned in those things is that our brain creates this thing has this thing called neuroplasticity, which pretty much, if I were to sum it up, means our brain is a ball of clay all the time. So if you're telling me that you are just who you are and that's who you're always going to be, that's a very limited mindset of looking at it, because your brain is actually programmed to continuously adapt, to create new synapses all the time. Okay, so that's these little connections to trigger stuff and make connections. So that also creates, with enough of them in place, it creates a pathway. These new pathways are incredibly hard to build. It takes a lot of repetition, okay? Which is one of the reasons why doing any of these good stuff for you, like journaling or meditation, it's not just a one fix all. You have to continuously do these things, right? Affirmations, to see a positive effect of them. It's not one day I speak one affirmation about myself. It's repeatedly showing up to do it, okay? And the point is because in order for us to truly learn and grow, it requires patience, it requires time, and it requires that continuous building of the new information. So it's important for everybody to know neuroplasticity is actually proven that you are continuously like. The older we get, though, when we learn about personality, the more the more rigid it becomes. And so I like to think of it as almost like the fascia. So our fascia, it's a little like tissue under our skin, and it like pulls everything together, and it helps like our posture and muscles. Anyways, it's a big energetic level. So so rigidity, that's what I was talking about. So the fascia, the older you get, if you don't do anything to work on your health, your body, or anything like that, to lose weight and to correct your posture, to correct anything that's like really bad going on in there, it's a lot harder because your body has that much more time to become like calcified, hardened. So those structures in place are now a little bit more difficult than if you were still very flexible and limber. And so the older we get in our mind, the longer our structures in there, like the fascia, have time to harden. So these things become more like, that's just how it is, which is why when we talk to some really old people, some of them, they're not even willing to entertain a different narrative, because it's that much more difficult to permeate that brain, because its neuroplasticity in there has been taught, I don't grow, I don't change, this is how it is. And so the younger people, that's why we're supposed to listen to them, because they are the most open for that stuff. They are the ones learning. They don't have that much rigidity in their brain. Their neuroplasticity is at the highest because they are transforming consistently and all the time. So with personality, your personality isn't as deformed. Your personality isn't as formed when you're younger as when you're older. And so it can grow, it can change. So for me, that is something that is important for us to know, because the moment that you realize that you can change and grow like that, it allows you to set aside whatever story you've been telling yourself about who you are, and that's just how I have to be. Question it all. Because a lot of that stuff that you believe that's just who you are and how to be, I guarantee somebody just told you that. Like when I was young, if I believed what everybody told me about myself, that stubborn one was a good one, right? But meanwhile, I just stand up for what I believe in to me. And I'm not easy to discredit what actually matters, right? But everybody can take it in a negative tone. Oh, she's talkative. It's so annoying. Okay, I express myself and communicate in a world that doesn't communicate properly and doesn't want to talk about their emotions. I talk and I'm open. Oh, I'm so sorry. She's confident. Wow. That's terrible. Oh my God. How dare somebody be confident in themselves? They can write all these things about it. Those weren't even bad. But the point is, I don't want to talk bad about myself. But the point is that if you immediately get locked into these ideals of what people taught you that you are like, and just say, that's just who I am, I cannot change. Meanwhile, the stories they wrote about you were lies or biases based off of how they felt, because most people's genuine commentary like that is more of an inward thing coming out than it is about you. So when you take on their stories, their lies, you're actually doing yourself a discredit, because you're not honoring the fact that you yourself were not actually ever that. And somebody wrote you off like that. And so you've been writing yourself off like that this whole time. So by adopting a growth mindset, you're starting to be like, you know what? I don't actually need to have this fixed mindset, which is what they usually call it, right? So you have growth mindset or a fixed. Fixed is, it's like a light fixture. It's there. It's been fixed up. That's just how it is. You are not. Your house can be remodeled at any time. Okay? So remodel it if you need to. And many of us do. And there's nothing wrong with that. They literally have taught us not to do this for a reason, because they don't want us remodeling. They don't want us growing. They want to think this is exactly this case. And by case, I mean like our casing, like on our skin, in our society. This layer that they've put on us is permanent, that it can never be shed, that it can never adapt, it can never evolve. We are living, breathing organisms. Organisms evolve. It is incredibly unhealthy for us to be in a system that doesn't evolve with us and allow us to evolve without claiming we're damaged or something. So the thing is, people are losing their inner power right now, because not right now, they always have been, but slowly right now, everybody's regaining it. But we need to regain it in the right way. Because there's going to be a lot of lost people here. Like, what do we do now? Who am I now? Now all of these identities that I've attached to my whole life, they're fucking farce. Or they're terrible, or they're lies, or they're just like missing part of the puzzle. And so they are disempowering still, even if they aren't entirely inaccurate, so it's time for us to really understand and grow in a new way that we've always needed to be taught in schools and everything how to do, and we weren't. So that's one of the reasons this video is out here, is I really want to help educate in a way that I feel like is crazy. We haven't been teaching our society this entire time, but it makes sense we haven't been teaching our society this, because they never wanted us to have this growth mindset. They never wanted us to feel like we could grow or change or get better, or that we weren't the problem in the first place, because guess what happens when that happens? Everything has to change, and they didn't want that. But now guess what? They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. So yeah, when we do this, when we do have inner power, when we do have a good level of it, it is important that you know that you're going to feel more grounded. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to be aligned with purpose. You're not going to be easily swayed by external circumstances or opinions of others. You're going to trust yourself and your ability to handle life curveballs, okay? It is something that is going to be like armor for you. It is something that is going to be like your spine. It's going to give you that right to stand up and be unashamed to do so. Knowing that even if you get knocked down, I can get back up. I'm an expert in getting back up. I'm an expert in not just getting back up, but knowing how to get back up with style and grace and to come back even stronger when I do. So knock me down all you want. You're only making me stronger. And that's where we need to be. That's our inner power. I know me. I know when I get challenged, I grow. So yeah, help me grow. I love it. Thank you. And that's where we have to be. Okay. So I think that was mainly my biggest points that I wanted to touch on this. It's really difficult because I had so many points on this because for years I wanted to talk about this stuff and I didn't. So now I have multiple different pages that I wrote over the years, and so it's just so interesting to be able to talk about it and it be so applicable right now. So in a way, awkwardly grateful. Okay, so if we were to look at different things for how our inner power could be affected, these are some things to look out for, okay? So not speaking your truth is one of them. So if you're not speaking up for something that you know that you need to, that's going to affect your inner power. It's immediately going to diminish it. Denying where we aren't living authentically. That's going to also, because then you're, again, not being authentic to the fact that you're not being authentic. You're lying to yourself, which is anywhere that we're lying to yourself, think of it as like a bleeding cut in your body. Like it might be only one of those small cuts, but eventually enough of those little small cuts, they'll drain you dry. That's what's happening. We have so many little small cuts, so many people are being bled dry. So we have to close up all of these little wounds, close up all these little cuts, close up all these little, pores that are leaking all of this inner power out that we don't need to be leaking, and hold it back inside of ourselves to allow ourselves to build back up, to be revitalized, okay? So allowing our judgments, thoughts, rules, shape our reality and making our own scripts that hinder us because we then act out that role of and this is where one of my favorite things is self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you are somebody that constantly is saying that you're a failure, guess what? You're probably going to find that you fail a lot in life, because self-fulfilling prophecy, what that is you proclaim something before it happens. And then because of your belief in that, you take actions to directly steer yourself into it. So you, like it or not, are making yourself a failure because you believe you already are one. And so life is going to orchestrate it that's exactly why this is important, by the way. Life is going to orchestrate what you believe. So right now we believe one way about the world, and that's why the world is the way that it is. They've done that. They've engineered that. We're engineering you to come online authentically, not for me, not in my way, in your way. In your way, your way, your way, your way, your way. You are important. What your authenticity speaks to is important, and anybody telling you otherwise, scared. Be scared. Be scared of them. Don't listen to them. Don't even. Okay? I'm teaching you how to be sovereign. I'm teaching you how to be you. All right? And not you as I know how to be you. I'm teaching you how to free yourself, okay? So you can be you in your own way. So it's very important that for these self-fulfilling prophecies that we don't make these claims about ourselves that are setting ourselves up, because we are expert creators, whether we want to believe it or not. When you create these tangible lies, these scripts about yourself, you are fulfilling that role in life. You are the director, you're the editor, and you're the actor. So if you don't like the acting role you're in, you need to change the script you're writing. You have to change the way that you're making these prophecies about yourself, which all comes if you actually know yourself. You're not going to talk about yourself that way, because half of those self-fulfilling prophecies in that negative way, those come from other people. Those come from people that were either trying to tear you down or keep you the same or minimize you, any of that. It doesn't matter. The point is that they are not true for you, okay? And that's why they are important to cut out, like root out of your garden, right? We want a healthy harvest here. those weeds specifically, they're the ones that go under the ground and strangle all your dreams, all your other healthy fruits and veggies. They go and attack the root systems, okay? Those weeds' purpose is not to fulfill the nature around it in a natural biosphere. Their purpose is to kill everything in that garden that isn't it. Okay? So it's important to root those out of your mind. Anyways, inactivity or overactivity. So when we don't do anything and we're sedentary, we have no momentum. Our body, our energy, it needs to constantly kind of move a little bit. But when you overdo it, you are also then pouring out all of that inner power everywhere, because your claim to existence then is, I have to do this. If I don't move, if I don't overdo, if I can't, I'm nothing. So I have to constantly be doing something. That's my worth. That's my value. Oh my God. And you're going to run out of your power because you're forgetting that you don't actually need to do that to be of value to anybody. If anything, rest periods and downtime has been incredibly shamed over the time so that we don't rest, because they wanted us to be so busy and consumed with busyness and activity that we were so disassociated from our body that we never knew that rest actually mattered, so that we could be in this weakened state. Rest has always been important because your body does require it. Even if you were working out 7 days a week, you should have one day at least to rest. It is actually not that more beneficial for you to go 7 than it is for you to go 6. Okay? So that rest day can be very holy and virtuous for you. There is a reason why the Bible even speaks about having the Sunday as the rest day, right? Because we should have a week or a day in our week. I believe you should rest every day, but I live a very different life than most people, and I have taken a long time to set aside this overactivity, right? So in the beginning, it's going to look a bit different for you, but that's what you should be moving towards, is every day having a little bit of rest and peace in your day. And that's not just going to bed, anyways, giving it away. And so when we choose decisions that are not empowering for ourselves, we are being like, it's okay, you can have this. So if somebody crosses a boundary and you're like, it's okay, you're like, here, take my inner power, so we give it away by every time we make choices to not empower ourselves. And that's why, and one of the reasons why most of us are disempowered in the society, is because we've constantly allowed society to be like, yeah, I'm going to need this from you, even though I know it's totally not appropriate for me to ask this from you. And we're like, that's okay. I guess it's just part of what's happening and how everything's always been. Anyways, so dreams and goals are seen as unachievable. So when we have a purpose that calls to us most in our world, the more that we discredit it, the more we deny our intuition of what we know. And that often means the more we're not probably doing all these actions or activities that are part of that, because we're like, no, that's not it. So it's not just the outcome that we're not getting. It's also these little steps in between that are calling to us to do that we're not also getting, because we're believing that there's no point to them. So why would I even try? And that's part of helplessness, right? Like, my goals and dreams unachievable, so guess I won't do them at all. Meanwhile, even if they are, so like mine, to see a utopia in my timeline, my lifeline, very far-fetched. Does it matter? No, because even if I get an ounce closer to it, I'm an ounce closer to utopia by the time I die. So maybe my dream isn't achievable, but it is doable in the long run if all of us care about that. And so does my actions towards that matter then? Yes, they do. Every single day. Every single one I make. Every single one, every single choice is a choice to choose. Am I going to go towards a utopia society thinking, or am I going to go back to the old one? Am I going to beat myself up about this and make myself feel worse and disempower myself further? Or am I going to believe in myself and know that this happened and it wasn't my fault and it's nothing to guilt or shame myself over, And so even if my goals aren't achievable, who cares? Who says that they are or aren't? Most of the people that don't want me to believe they are because they don't want me to try. Half the people when I was younger that said that I wanted to change the world, because that has always been my dream or goal when I was a kid. I want to change the world. And when people ask me why I started going into school, I want to help change the world. Why would you do that? It's an irrelevant. It's not going to happen. You can't do that. You're not going to make real change. Well, that's because you're not the person meant to do it. I am. My voice, my opinion, what I'm doing here, it was always meant to help. So maybe you're not, and that's exactly why you need me. It's because you think like that. And all of us think like that out there. And that's why it has been the way it has. Because we don't know how quick change could actually be if we actually just got out of its way. But no, we spend half the time arguing on stuff, right? Debating. Anyway, so this other start here is negative self-talk. And yeah, negative self-talk is probably one of the most debilitating ones. So in all of my friends and relationships, one of the things that I started to tell them to do first, before anything else, was to stop talking, to be like an honest observer in how they talk or think about themselves. And then try, as any time that happens, is to try and to stop the thought midway. It'll get easier as you do it, but in the beginning it'll be hard. But you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at how honestly you negative talk to yourself all the time. Because it's been something that we've been programmed to do, because the more we talk negatively about ourselves, it's almost like negative gossip. It sounds like these little entities here that like puke green crap all over us and coat us in negativity, and that sucks like good stuff from us. This is just a visual representation, but I do believe if we could see the other dimensions, we'd be able to see that, because it is. Gossip does have a little green, not a little green guy, but a little negative guy like that does spew green stuff. But self-talk negatively like that, similar fashion, that it is coding you in negativity for lower dimensional beings to feed off of you. And whether that's people around you, environments, or actually in the cosmos dimensions of things, not cosmos, but other lower dimensions. Anyways, the point is, when you talk about negative self-talk, you are draining yourself. Stop it. Watch all those signs, transform it. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm so stupid, catch yourself. Oh wait, no, I'm not stupid. That was just a silly mistake I made. Silly me. I'm so smart though. I can learn it. And now I'll learn it for the next time. So I won't make that mistake again, will I? And guess what? You won't, right? So like, that's the thing. When we call ourselves definitively things like I am, that's the affirmations, right? I'll have another episode about this stuff. But the point is that you don't want to be just giving it away. And negative self-talk is how you can just give it away easily without anybody even doing anything, right? And most of it is just because of that first thought that comes into our mind, which is a shame thought, to immediately put ourselves down rather than build ourselves back up. So watch that. You'd be amazed. And replace them. The quicker you start replacing those, the more that you won't have them come up as much. In the beginning, I had to do it all the time. And now I very rarely ever have a slip up. I think the only time I did was recently, and it's because I had my friend move in here for a bit, and she was going through a really hard time, and she's really bad with her negative self-talk. And she calls herself stupid a lot. So that's another reason why the people around us, they're important to watch. Because if you do have somebody constantly putting themselves down, it does impact you a bit, right? It does get to you, because then what you hear often, right, what you're feeding yourself from somebody else is them feeding you that information of talking to yourself like that. That's immediately how you should treat yourself. So you do want to watch or limit your time with people that are negative self-talking, and also help catch them as well. No, you're not stupid. Don't say that about yourself. Because also what we hear outwardly about others, if we confirm it or not, it also is a confirmation for ourselves. So if somebody else says that and you say, yeah, you're confirming that affirmation for you too. So don't ever confirm it for others, and don't confirm it for yourself. Except for the people who are genuinely terrible, call them on that shit. They deserve that. We all know who those guys are. Anyways, lack of clarity in our wants and needs. And why that is, again, I talked about at the beginning, because then you'll do whatever. You don't know what it matters. So your inner power, you're not saving it for yourself if you're constantly giving it away to all these things that don't even matter to you, right? Not giving self space. So when you need space to process and deal with stuff, or to even anything, If you don't take that time, you're again violating a boundary or a need of yourself, need for yourself. And in doing that, that takes away your inner power, because there's a reason this is required right now. Like, I'm very introspective. I don't really, like, I live in hermit mode all the time. I love being in my own world. It's amazing here. But I also love being out in the normal world as well. However, when I get out there, because it is so much right now, and I'm incredibly sensitive to certain things, it is very draining on me, and not in a bad way, in a way of like understandable. I'm doing a lot of work when I go out there, and it's a lot to hear. And for the most part, I'm not drained because it's a negative thing. I'm drained because that was a lot of energy for me to deal with, and now I have to integrate it. Right? So a lot of the time when we're thinking that we need space or we get drained, it's a bad thing. But technically, sometimes you are also getting overstimulated to a point where you need space, because you're only drained because there's so much that you need to now let kind of replenish in you. And for me, I give a lot to people when I'm around them still. And so that can be very draining for me, in a sense of, wow, it gave out a lot. But now, you know what? Now it's time for me to let my well replenish. So I give myself that space all the time. That's why I do take rest. That's why I do think that it is very important to care about these things, because without them, I would not be able to do half the stuff I do, because I do need to recharge, right? Anyway, and then also another part of the giving space is you're not giving yourself space to live authentically to how you actually want. So if you're not allowing yourself to be like, you know what, I really don't want to live in a pigsty, and you continuously choose to never clean up, it drains you, because you don't want this, right? But the only thing that can stop that is by you being like, okay, I need to take actions to ensure that I'm not going to live in a pigsty. And one of the reasons I bring that up is because for me, my environment is incredibly important. How I feel in my environment is everything. So when I come home, if I don't feel like I can rest, if I don't feel like I can, be in a clean environment that makes me feel safe, or that is easy if something happens, that I can still do whatever I need to do and not have all this stuff on top of it, then it makes me be able to relax and be at ease in my home a bit more. So for me, that's important for me. And so I live authentically in knowing I want to have a good environment to live in. So I take care of my environment. That's a need and want for me. So I want to do that for myself because I deserve that. But I also need that in order to function properly. And so if I chose to not do that, what happened in the past is I used to be very disorganized. I used to be very unclean because I just was. All right. And then I realized that my mind was always just so chaotic, and I could never, and I hated losing stuff, and I was always mad, and I hated that everything was always dirty. And then it excused me even more to get like other food, because then I had dishes in the sink and I didn't want to do the dishes on top of having to cook the food. And so it was always just like another little snowball effect of like helping me not take care of myself better by not having a good environment, right? And so it was never doing me good to be in that environment. It was a disservice to myself. And so now I'm the opposite because of the way that I love to help myself now. My favorite thing is this setting me up for future success? So when I do the dishes at night, even though I don't want to, yeah, that's helping set me up, because what happens if tomorrow I break both my arms and I can't do the fucking dishes? Like, I don't know. It could happen. So I empower myself to be like, yeah, I want to take care of Jennifer tomorrow, not just Jennifer today. And that's the same with the utopia. It's not just about us. It's about who's coming, and I want to help take care of the world forward, not to see it get worse, right? And so anyways, so when you need to look at this, you also need to look at how we can gain it, right? So how you can gain it using honesty and confronting areas of weakness, gained back in increments every time we take the steps to rise above them. So it's something that every little choice you make, that's what I was talking about also earlier, is you may think that just because you have only done little bits and stuff here and there, that doesn't matter, and you're discrediting yourself. Every little bit helps. Every little bit of energy plucked towards the direction that you want to go what you want to look at is zoom out. Look at your trajectory if you were to plot it on a graph. Is your trajectory, is that action that you're taking to go up or down? Well, if it's going up, then your line is going to slowly go like this. Even if it's just the slowest, it is still going up, baby. Focus on the fact you're going up. Even if it's just a little thing, you are doing what you can, and that is great, right? And so that's why it's important to know in yourself, like, that you are making slight changes, that even these little things are very powerful, because these are steps they've actively chosen to not teach you on purpose, okay? And so, anyways, align your body, mind, and spirit. You do that a lot of the time by figuring out what's important to you, and then you only have to do those things, and that helps those things all work in harmony, because right now they're not in harmony because you're pulling them in all different directions. You know, this is important, this is important, this is important, and none of it is. You're like, oh, it was actually under here, this thing, a whole time. Oh my God. Pull my shirt down like I was trying to whip out boobs. Yuck. Just kidding. Not yuck, but still, not for this. Honest self-discovery. So the best thing you will ever do is discover who you are. I want you to know that it is a pleasure to know you. I want you to know how amazing it would be to know you as a person that you actually are. Your humor, your thoughts on the world, your thoughts on yourself, what kind of things you put together about this place and you, and what you love, what you don't like, and like the funny things that make you laugh. Like, it is so beautiful to actually discover who you are outside of what everybody's taught you about yourself, because then you start to realize that some people, they are people that only read the outside of the book. And so when they make a judgment about you like that, they've missed so much of your context. And you, if you don't do the self-discovery, you miss your own context. And yeah, it's really easy to think you're crap when you don't know your context. And then you get into your context and you're like, I can't believe I ever let anybody say anything other than me about these things, because like, oh my gosh, like, this is who I am. This is who I am, right? Not who they claim I am. So it is beautiful to actually discover who yourself is. And even when you know that you're maybe not the best, like you've been up to some shady crap, it is good to also be honest about that, because sometimes we beat ourselves up for our whole life about mistakes we made and decisions we made. And a lot of that sometimes is because we never really gave ourselves the space to admit we did something bad. And doing bad things sometimes really propels us to great things. My baddest moments made me want to be better, right? And so even though they weren't as terrible as some, by acknowledging who you are, they will help you to acknowledge who you can become and who you don't want to be anymore. And if you don't acknowledge these things, then it's really hard for you to say, I don't like that, because you're not even putting a name on it. You're not even putting a real tangible thing on it. You're just, just avoiding it again. And that's what happens, is it just gets bigger, or it holds its weight and it just continuously drains us, right? So anyways, empower yourself through purity. Purity is not like this thing that they want to make you believe it is. Purity is removing all of the crap, the stuff that's lies. So purity is what's true, what's authentic. So when you empower yourself through purity, it means you're empowering yourself through your actual truth. And that's what I mean by that. Self-discovery is so beautiful, because in finding out who you are, discovering that self, you remove the veil of all of this crap that isn't you, and you reveal your true state of who you are, your actual heart center, that pure essence of you. And when you can do that, you can start actually writing the story of who you are outside of these lies that have been told about you. And it is very empowering, very enlightening to see yourself in that light, especially if you spent your whole life not. All right? Self-love is one of the most important for me. I love self-love. If I was going to change from self-empowerment as like a buddy or a coach, self-love probably would have been the next thing that I would have picked for my niche, because to me, that's exactly where these things stem from. It's like a self-love. And most of us, even if you think you love yourself, you don't. Like people who like advertise being like an influencer and helping people. Meanwhile, their regiments are slowly killing themselves or are incredibly difficult on their body in a way that their body is letting them know, I do not like this. I cannot handle this. And they're like, too fucking bad. And I get it. Some people are pushing themselves. I get that. And that's okay. The point is, it's not okay when your body's saying, I don't like this. And you're continuing to do it. And then we have young people dying because they are forcing their bodies to live and be in a way that is unhealthy, and putting it out there for society to be like, yeah, follow me along. Meanwhile, they're like, literally, you're advertising something that is toxic to people and marketing it as a good thing. Meanwhile, you can't even sustain it yourself. So what are you doing? And it's all because there's like this self-hatred. Like, I can only be good and loved if I'm the best and I look like this, if I'm the thinnest and I look like this, if I'm the most muscly and I look like this, I'm the toughest and the smartest. It's bullshit, actually. The best thing you can feel is healthy, strong, fit. Those are good. To be the tiniest, the thinnest, to me means being weak. And you are. Your body will be weak like that. And there ain't nobody out there that's like really thin and advertising super low fucking body fat. As much as you want to claim that you're strong to me, what have you done to yourself to do that? I'm not saying all of them. There are people with low body like fat and everything like that are not hard on themselves. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the ones specifically that torment themselves and claim that it is something that's like, I'm healthy and I love myself. And I'm like, do you though? Because I think you're punishing yourself. And the transformation you'll get when you actually love yourself and approach things with love will be 100% tenfold the effects of whatever you're doing through self-hatred, right? So make sure that you're doing self-love. Self-love is one of the most important things, because the more you love yourself, the more you understand how beautiful you are and what created you. Then you kind of start loving nature because you realize you're a part of nature. You start loving the people around you and humanity more because you realize they are also an outlet of you as well. And so loving yourself is the doorway to helping you find love for everything else too. Because when you stop fighting and hating yourself, you really realize, like, wow, I'm not so bad and there's so much beauty in me. And now guess what? Because I love myself, I'm willing to accept and let the love in and out of me. And that includes what I see and interact with in the world. And now guess what? I love most of what's in the world because I'm allowing myself to. Right? So, and that's part of the self-love, is giving yourself that gift of loving even your life, even everything about it, even the terribleness. I don't love the atrocities that are happening, but I do love what I'm seeing happen for people standing up to the atrocities, So anyway, that's not about self-love. But for self-love in that regard, it's amazing because people are finally, if I were to stem it back to my example, I'm seeing how people are reacting. And part of that is people are reacting with love. And a lot of it is because people are at that stage of they love themselves and their fellows. So they know that now is the time to actually come together because they believe in that love, right? And they already see that we are connected. So they already are using self-love by standing up right now. Because love of self, love of others, they are very closely intertwined. And one of the reasons they wanted us to hate ourselves is so that it was easier to hate others. Because if you hate yourself, however your relationship with yourself internally is going to be a good reflection of what's going to happen outside of you. So hating yourself was always the number one game, because then you could hate everything else, right? It's a lot easier to take advantage and be cruel to things if you hate them. So it's a lot easier to digest these poisons that they feed you, or these manipulative beauty or image things that they give you and tell you need if you hate yourself. It's really easy to not form a community and build with other people if you hate other people because you believe they're these terrible people. It's really easy to take advantage and be okay with them manipulating and abusing the earth if you don't care about the earth. If you don't, not necessarily hate it, but don't see anything great about it and don't really care about protecting it, just like yourself. If you don't think about protecting yourself from these things, it's really easy to not think that anything else needs it either, right? So anyway, So one of the other things is loyal to self is evolution. The more you're loyal to yourself, the more you're going to evolve, because you're trusting yourself. You're opening these doors to keep being like, okay, yeah, I can keep leveling up. So the more we become loyal to ourselves, the more that we trust, the more we come in line, the more that we can have this inner power, because technically I'm not compromising, honoring myself for anything else. And I know even when I choose me, I choose everything, because I know the healthy choice is not to put me out of that space like that, right? So anyway, be loyal to yourself. And making sacrifices because of what we want. So this is where there oftentimes will be a sacrifice for you to get something you like. It's going to be difficult sometimes. But the point is that we want it to be a little bit difficult. We want it to be something that we have to give up something for, because we know what we're going to get is going to be tenfold of that. So in order for me to post these videos, I know that it's uncomfortable. It's something I didn't like. There's a sacrifice, because I know this also could make me a target. I know this could open me up to all kinds of, trolls and things like that nature. And it's all being run by people to do that on purpose as well. To, most of those comments are not even going to be real. And most of them are going to be people that actively don't want, and I might not even have any of that. I might not even get noticed. I might not see any of that. The sacrifice for me was being willing to put myself in such an uncomfortable position, knowing what's at stake of me coming out with these informations and putting myself out there, and knowing that it's okay either way. I know that I have to do this. This has called to me for so long. I've tried to avoid it for so long. I've tried to do anything but it. And I can't not. And now, because of the way the world's going, because I know the next phase is, if this world isn't working and we are done with it, we need to start building the next one. And what does that look like? Well, I want people to be in their right frame of mind and in their heart before we decide, because we never were apparently back in the past. It was always built off of the same thing back then. So we need to approach it entirely different, which means we need everybody online. We need everybody activated. We need everybody thinking with their heart space and true utopia kind of mentality of what that actually looks like, and knowing it's a compromise and a sacrifice on everybody's behalf, but why? For the greater good. And so for me, even if I die, something happens to me, God forbid, I know that I still did all I could while my time here to do the best that I could, and it's okay if I have to go. It's okay if I have to. I'm fine with it. The point is that the sacrifice still is required for me to fulfill my purpose, for me to still get this message out there. And it doesn't even matter if it gets to anybody. The power behind me speaking this and putting this out there is enough momentum in the energetics to matter. And I know that now. And so that's why it matters. Even if you're only doing little things, even if you're only speaking and only one person's hearing you, you are creating the energy of change. And thank you for your part. Okay? Instill that inner power to know that you are helping. You are doing your part. You are amazing in just you looking into this. Okay? This is what matters now. We don't know what matters right now because they don't want us to have this easy playbook. But what matters is you knowing yourself and knowing your values and what actually needs to come out of this. Okay? So one of the things you can look at is your inner strengths. So what are inner strengths? Well, stable traits, endearing sources of well-being, wise and effective actions that contribute to the self of others. These are positive tellings and feelings, positive mood, commonly felt with them. So you'll normally feel good when you know that you're using one of your strengths. And then common sense. So usually it just comes really easily to you. There's integrity to it. You get inner peace. There's determination. You feel warmth in your heart. You have self-compassion when you're using them. Secure attachment. So if something isn't really good for you, then you're probably not going to have a good attachment to it. So if you do have a secure one and it comes from a really good place, then that's a good sign that that's a strength. If you have an emotional intelligence, that's also a really big inner strength because of the fact that you're going to be more able to emotionally regulate. Learned optimism. So if you have this, real good for you, because then no matter what happens, that's when life teaches you that you can get back up and you're going to be stronger. Okay. Relaxation, huge one. Obviously, we've talked about why that one matters. Response, We want to respond more than we want to react now. That is a huge inner strength to actually, so instead of calling yourself stupid, right, that's the reaction. The response is, actually, I just made a decision that was kind of silly because it was in the heat of the moment. And you know what? Next time I'll do it better. Okay? Yeah, so then higher self-esteem is going to always help you because then you believe and know who you are as well. Self-regulation obviously will help you because then instead of you being dependent on others to help you regulate, you're going to be able to regulate yourself. Distress tolerance. So the more that you are able to tolerate levels of distress around you and it not throw you or take you off your game, even though something's happening, still being like, I can handle this with that resiliency, right? That's going to be an inner strength. That's going to always help bolster your inner power because you, again, are taking these. Why these build inner strengths for inner power is because you are at the you are at the steering wheel. You are in control. These are helping you to know that you are strong in these ways and you can handle it because of them, okay? So, yeah, I think that's the most important things that I would say for me when I talk about inner power. I know this video is very long. I'm sorry about that. But honestly, the reason why Inner Power became my company, right? That's what I used to call myself, as an inner power facilitator. And now I just think of myself as an empowerment buddy because inner power, we all have it. I do think it is one of the most crucial things for us to learn how to build and keep and also to protect. Empowerment is truly the action of doing that, though, is all those actions. And those empowering yourself to be somebody that takes care of yourself in that way, to care about your inner power, to know what it means, and then to protect it. That's what I want to teach people. That's what I want you to know about. And so all these tools and techniques that are going to come on my videos, they're all going to be little ways that I learned that we can do that. And they won't make sense to some. And some tools aren't going to be ones that you should use because you're not called to them. Some of them might be ones you already do use. And it might make sense why you do as you watch my videos, why that one called to you. But this video is specifically for people that, you're completely lost right now. Your whole world has been shattered and you don't know what to do. Well, now you need to start looking at you because your inner world is going to really help us build this outer world now. Once we start looking at the inner world, hopefully majority of us all have these same kind of inner world importance, and we'll realize that that's ultimately the authentic way forward for our planet, to take all of these things from the inner world that matter the most to us all and to make a society, an organism, a living organism, rather than systems that are mechanically engineered to control us, a living, breathing organism that supports us to help this world run properly in a way that not only sustains life but helps it thrive, because that's what time we're here for now. Oh my God. It's time to thrive. So the most important message I could tell you is that we are our own guru. You do know the way. You do have all the answers inside of you. So the most important conversation you can have right now is with yourself and finding those answers out right now. Because I believe once you look into it, you will understand why inner power is going to be the most important for you. But being your own guru just means you're your own expert. And most of the time, half of us do not ask ourselves, do not sit down with ourselves, do not take the time to discover ourselves. And that's why we think we need other people outside of us, because in those times you go to see them, you're actually taking that time to have these conversations, and they're going to ask these questions that you're not asking yourself. But if you had asked yourself all along, you would realize you always had an answer. So start asking yourself, start having these conversations with yourself, start caring about what comes next for you and what that looks like. And if it's world domination and you wanting to dominate and dictate us, I do not help you manifest that. We're over it. We're done with that. Okay? So let's manifest something better. If that's your way, no. I'm going to tell you right now, You need to do some serious work at why you think that's the best course forward for our future. When domination has only proven so far a sick and unhealthy society, world, and everything on it with us, like plants and animals, okay? So I surely hope that's not your true intentions in your heart space. And if they are, please take time to really, really, really do the inner work to fix that. Because let's be honest, if you want to be dominated like that, if you want to dictate like that, that is ego, that is power, and that is the opposite of what we need moving forward. That's actively why we want to work on these exercises, because we don't need more of the same. We need different, and different now means coming at it from an actual heart space, community approach for the betterment of all, rather than a selfish desire to inflict or dictate things for everybody else, okay? So anyway, much love. Thank you so much for anybody who did stay the whole way. I genuinely believe we can take care of our own being by take care of ourselves, but also our world around us by implementing just even half of this. So thank you so much, and I hope that all of you work on, getting to know yourself, because that's genuinely where your inner power is going to come from, and that's honestly going to help you to debunk so much of the propaganda that's trying to infiltrate and control you right now. And the first place that we can start right now in building a new world is to find out what kind of world these people need to live in, and by these people I mean us. And once we find out what we need, we can then align on what that mission is forward, versus trying to argue on past versions that didn't work for anybody, okay? We need something different, something new, something that isn't left or right, something that is just moving forward. Left and right is just a tug of war, back and forth, back and forth. That looks really dirty, but I just mean it's time for us to streamline this forward, people. No more tug of war. It's time to move forward, and that means there's got to be a genuine consensus on what that looks like underneath it all. Underneath all that layers of division, what are those core values that we need to move forward for a truly thriving society and globe together? Not one race, not one religion, not one gender, nothing of that. All of us. How do we do that? And that starts with your values. Look at your values, get to know yourself. The more you do, the more inner power you'll have to stand up for what that's going to look like in the future, versus for us to fall into another trap of what we've already been trying to escape for eons, okay? So, much love. Looking forward to the next video. Take care.